Hello guys, today I'll be showing you how to fit some DMR Deathgrip handlebar grips onto your mountain bike or any other lock-on style grip for that matter. Okay, so first of all what we need to do is we need to take off the old grip. You can see this one's all worn. I've actually turned this one through 180 degrees to get twice as much life out of it, but it has come to an end. The underside is literally flat, so it's not very grippy on your fingers, which is no good. So to undo, we just need to undo this little bolt just here. They're generally a 3mm bolt, but they can change. I'm using this little hex key tool just here. It's got a rounded end for awkward angles and a solid end for easy access bolts. So since this is an easy access bolt, I will use this end just because it's less likely to round off than the rounded end. So untighten that. It wasn't very tight at all. They don't need to be very tight. And once that's loosened off, the old grip will just slide off. Just like that. Look at the state of that. Time for that one to go. So before we do anything with your new grips, what we need to do is we need to make sure that this is nice and clean. Your handlebar, mine was wet underneath it. Well, I've obviously been riding in the rain and water's got underneath and hasn't cleared out. And that partly is the reason for lock-on grips. Back in the olden days, when you didn't have lock-on grips, you'd have like a grip that would just grip onto the handlebar basically. And eventually, and sometimes, they would just literally start spinning around gradually on your handlebar when you least want it to. So you give that a good old clean. I'm not using anything because I don't want it to stop the collar from sticking, but make sure there's no grit or any dirt on there. And that is ready to accept your new grip. So today I'm fitting DMR Deathgrips. The same principle applies for any lock-on grip. If it's got the little collar on there, then basically this technique will work for you. I have gone for these fancy oil slick collars. You can just take them off and change them around. You can probably swap them around in between brands. I don't recommend it, but you probably can. Since these were a birthday present from my lovely wife, Mrs. Blob on a Bike, I went for the oil slick ones. Why not? So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and fit these onto the bicycle. So let's get to it. Okay, so before we get going anywhere fitting this, basically what we need to do is we need to make sure it's going to fit properly on your handlebar. Now, I know that my brake lever is in a really comfy position where it is there. So I'm hoping that the grip isn't longer than my old grip, so I'll have to move it inboard a bit because that wouldn't be cool. I don't really want to be changing my hand position. So I'm going to offer it up. You can see where the end of the grip is. And in fact, the collar meets exactly where the old collar. I can still see a little mark just there. So all good. I'm going to get on with fitting these. Yes. So the whole point of lock-on grips is so they don't spin and move around on your bars when you least want them to. And in order for them to do so, they need to be tightened up properly. Now, my new Deathgrips, this is the old collar off of it, the standard one, before I've replaced it with the oil slick one. You probably can't see in there, but it says it needs to be tightened to 2 Newton meters. I've just checked on my old Santa Cruz jobbies, and they don't mention any tightness or any torque settings at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do these up to 2 Newton meters. Now, most people probably won't have one of these. It's a little torque ratchet, and it basically stops it so that you don't over tighten anything, which is extra important on my bike because I've got carbon handlebars. Don't want to be doing that. If you don't have one of these, just use your loaf, you know, test the grip. Does it grip? Does it move around when you don't want it to? Give it some force as well, because that's likely when it will slip if you're in a crash or something like that, or in a really gnarly predicament. So make sure it's tight enough, but if you hear it crack, stop and change your bars. But I'm going to set this up for 2 Newton meters. It's got a handy little gauge on there. It's set for 2 Newton meters and it will just click and won't let me tighten it up any more than that. So let's get to it. Again, it's got a handy little 3mm hex head on there. Handy. Okay, so in order to fit this onto the new bicycle, I've set my little ratchet up to 2 Newton meters. Again, you can see it's just on there. It's on a sliding scale on this. It's very basic. And I doubt it's very accurate, but it'll be close enough. So that's good enough for me. You literally just slide your new grip onto the handlebar. Give it a good old yank on there. Quite tight, this one. I want to make sure it's on there properly. Now you do want it to be tight, but you don't want it to be really tight, but that's tight just going on, so that's probably more to do with my handlebars. Let's give it a good old yank, make sure it's in position and fully on. You don't want a floppy bit at the end. Okay, right, so that is all tightened. I've labelled it basically so the Deathgrip logo is at the top, because I suppose that's where it's meant to be. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and tighten it up. Use my little torque wrench. Let's check it's on the right setting. Yes, it is. Okay, this might be quite awkward to get to because my brake lever is right there. Make sure the collar's pushed all the way onto the grip. I'm not going to make a noise so you can hear it click when it's done. Okay, it's done that little click, listen. That means no more talkie, mister. Right, so that is done and your grip is fitted. Give it a good test again just to check that it's not going anywhere. And when you've done that, you can just do the other side. Hope you found that helpful. If you have, give us a like and leave a comment down below. Let me know which grips you went for. I went for the Deathgrips. Why not? But do subscribe and I'll see you soon for another review and another how-to. See ya.